everyone. Thanks, Alex, and thanks, Jody. I'm thrilled to be here. And I hear I only have 5 minutes, so I'm going to go really right into this. So over the weekend, I decided to change my talk because of how I was feeling. And we are all in the business of who knows. What are we all here? What are we doing? Well, somebody once said, we're all, if you're in tech, in the business of creating the future. And you heard a lot about me. I've been in tech for a long time, and I've been fascinated by the future all my career. And I did something really, really different about a year ago, which is instead of working 150 hours building startups and running divisions of big companies building startups, I just stopped. And the reason I wanted to stop was because I just realized that the world was changing so quickly around us, and I had FOMO. I was like, I'm missing out because there's some really big things happening. And I like to get really curious. And I got really curious about some of these exponential technologies and started thinking about, what do these technologies mean? What's the impact of artificial intelligence and cryptocurrencies and augmented reality? And actually, it was a year ago next week, that I had this amazing chance to go to Israel and see how a small country became this giant in technology. And I came back and I said, oh my God, Toronto is having that moment, or is about to have that moment. We have some of the best and brightest minds. Who knows who these people are on the slides? Yeah? Well, if you don't, that's Jeffrey Hinton, who's the godfather of AI, and this is Vitalik Buterin, the founder of Ethereum. And it was so obvious to me, because I've been in this space so long, I'm so old, that Toronto was kind of having a new moment. And I said, I want to dive right in. So I did. And I saw that there's amazing stuff happening. And I actually, Alex kind of mentioned, I launched a seed fund. And I started investing in all of these new technologies. And I got so excited about artificial intelligence for the enterprise, and voice AI, and human movement intelligence, and wearables. And I even organized a conference. But then I stopped for a moment and I thought, are we shaking hands with the devil? And I kind of freaked out. And I went to this place where it was like, my next investment is about not looking at my phone. If you haven't heard of Flipped, it's about how do I stop being absorbed in all this technology. And what I'm here to talk about in 2 minutes and 21 seconds is we're walking on a tightrope. We may always think that we're doing good, and I think everybody starts out that way, but the question is, are we really? And it's kind of having a bit of an existential moment. And I think it's really important that we actually stop for a second and think about the impact of what's happening with social media, with Trump, with anxiety, with AI replacing jobs, with the existential threat to humanity, with the possibility for AI military warfare. And it's kind of dark. And I went to this place and I got really, really scared. So here's my question. Is humanity on its way out? And I'll give you a time frame, in the next 20 years. Who thinks it is? Good. Well, according to a poll, a few people think it is. And there's a lot of people who are really scared. And here's the thing about being really scared, is that you operate in a really, really bad headspace. And I think we're a little sheltered in Canada, but I was down in Silicon Valley, and people aren't really happy about what is happening in the world. And so it got me thinking that, like, oh my God, I'm usually the most optimistic, excited person about all this stuff, and I'm living from a place of fear. And it is this fine balance. But here's the thing, it doesn't help. If anybody you know is living in that place of fear, I have 4 thoughts, because these are the thoughts that I have gone back to, which is, it doesn't help. There is absolutely no point living in a place where you think there is no possibility. You need to be optimistic about the future, or you can't actually create the future you want. And the key thing for me is leaning in to this, because you can't have unbridled optimism without grounded facts. So if you want to actually make a difference for your future, lean in, get curious about the things that are going to be the future. And that's certainly what I did. And it takes a lot of courage because it's actually, you're going to have that fear, whatever that is. For me, launching a seed fund was terrifying, but you just kind of have to do it anyway. And the last thing I'll say is it's a responsibility. Like truly realizing that we are shaping the future of the world with these technologies. And with that comes incredibly big responsibility and impact. And you gotta take ownership of that. And you get to choose, how you actually take ownership of your thoughts and your actions and your beliefs. And there is no better place to do this, to create the future from, than Canada right now. We're one of the only places in the world that has an aligned set of values around the future we want. And so that's the thoughts I'd leave you with. Thanks for letting me go over. Oh, questions? Yeah, questions. I'm not leaving. There you go. Anybody have any questions?
Maybe people need a couple seconds to absorb.
One, I would just like to acknowledge you. That was amazing. And it's so amazing to see so many powerful women out here tonight. So I guess my question would be, with all this technology, what do you go through to, step back and just in your personal and professional life, like step away from technology and say, hey, I need to take a break?
I'm so happy you asked me that question because last week I deleted Facebook from my phone. And it was like this really liberating thing, which is I still like Facebook. It's incredibly powerful. But this endless scrolling and this access to like this always on noise for your mind is like just really wasn't working for me. So that's a great example. Flipped, check it out. It's an app I actually invested in, which like locks your phone for you because it's really hard. Like, it's very addictive. The brightest minds in the world are working on making you addicted to the device or the feed. So, don't blame yourself. It's really hard to be that way. And then just, being in nature. And I think it's healthy to have both. Hope that answers.
One more question anywhere?
Yeah.
So after all this, did this change your thesis on AI? Like, are you still investing in it, but in just a different way? And if so, how specifically?
Yeah, thanks for asking. I've always had a thesis that whatever I invest in has to be good for the world. And if you look at all the companies that I've invested in, they're actually doing really good. But it makes me think deeper about the impact of the technologies that we're investing in, and also making sure I would rather have a seat at the table and a voice in actually bringing up issues where there are ethical issues around data or around AI than not. And so it's this idea that technology is going to happen. You can't stop it. So you might as well have a seat and a front row seat in actually helping shape it. So I invest in things that are going to be good for the world and good businesses. And I'm not a social impact investor. I just wouldn't invest in something that I didn't think would be useful. Hope that helps.
Thanks so much.
Great.